Back to the AI News channel. Friday, we got jobs numbers here in the United States, and they were very disappointing and really confirmed that the U.S. economy is slowing sharply. On this channel, we report mainly about AI news. AI is affecting the larger economy more broadly. And so I just wanted to go over this report from CNBC. Contentious July jobs report confirms the U.S. economy is slowing sharply, and it talks about how even though it was controversial, the July jobs report helped confirm the notion that the U.S. economic engine is sputtering. And on this channel, we cover AI news, and I have done a lot of research and reading a lot of literature and books on the development of AI. And I believe that AI's proliferation, vast availability, all of the capabilities of AI technology is tied and connected to the slowing of growth in hiring, also playing a major role in businesses and companies' decisions to lay off workers as well. And some of the recently is The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman, and he is one of the founding members of DeepMind, which Google later purchased. But the AI wave, which is what he talks about, is going to be very disruptive. And I believe that this is part of this larger phenomenon that's just beginning to play itself out. We are going to cover more of that on this channel, but I did want to dive into the jobs report, and let's just kind of go over what's happening with the job market in the United States, and in additional videos, we will cover how that's connected to AI. So the weakness in job points to an economy that may be slowing, even more than some of the more traditional metrics are showing. Goldman Sachs forecasts growth to be around 1% in the final 2 quarters, due in part to slower consumer spending and a sharp slowdown in real income growth that reflects weaker job growth. President Trump states that the economy is sound and will only get better once the Big Beautiful Bill Act kicks in. Non-farm payroll jobs rose by just 73,000 for the month of July, which is below even the muted or even the low sort of expectations. There were also heavy downward revisions to the May and June count. It took the 3-month average job gains down to just 35,000, or less than 1/3 the pace for the same period a year ago. So if you pull out and look at the lens from over the past 12 months, the economy is actually weaker now than it was a year ago. Luke Tilley, chief economist at Wilmington Trust, states that, quote, "We are in a broad economic slowdown. Whether it translates to a recession or not is the question, is not the question that he's asking right now. He's saying that the labor market is key and that it's very hard to gauge what's going to happen." Well, here on this channel we discuss AI news, and again I'm mentioning the jobs report because I do believe that this is tied to and connected to AI. Now, there are also other economic phenomenon and reasons at play. For example, tariffs, For example, some of the things that are going on with immigration, the farm jobs numbers were down, and that was probably very likely connected to a lot of the foreign labor or immigrant labor that works in the farming industry. So all of this is interconnected and overlaps. But again, OpenAI and ChatGPT was released in November of 2022. So we're just about 3 years, just under 3 years. November of this year will be 3 years since AI has been made available globally, right? And as this technology proliferates, it is going to cause disruption. And I believe that this is what we're seeing, just the beginnings of what we're seeing here. Again, with companies deciding that they will not hire or they will lay off employees if an AI tool can do essentially the same job. And so we're going to cover this more on this channel, how the spread and the proliferation of AI in the United States, but also globally, impacts people's everyday lives and impacts economies around the world, and what the proliferation and spreading and adoption of AI by not just companies, but also by people, what that means and what that will look like for our future as we head towards 2030. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. We're here to bring all of the news to you. I will be delving deeply into a lot of the literature and works that I'm reading, and sort of sussing out what is the most important, and really ringing the bell and the alarms to let people know and to raise awareness about, yes, AI has tremendous potential. It has this power to be very transformative and to bring innovations and solutions to our lives that we've never had the ability to do as a human race before. But every coin has a flip side, and there is a downside to this technology. And on this channel, we're going to cover not just the developments, the positive developments in AI, but also some of the drawbacks, some of the blind spots, and some of the, quite frankly, sort of negligence around this technology from the developers, investors, and those who stand to gain financially from this. So, getting back to this jobs report, it says if consumers are shouldering the burden, they're spending more for imports, they will cut back on recreational spending, airlines, Disney trips, fun parks, hotels, all of that. He said, we've seen that in the data, and that's why there's not an inflationary impact. But there is sort of reason for optimism. They're saying that the gross domestic product increased at 3% annualized pace in the second quarter. But if you look at the first half, GDP averaged only about 1.2%, with consumer spending barely up 1%. So the primary reason for the big jump in Q2 was a reversal in the import surge during the first quarter, as companies sought to get ahead of the tariffs. The most likely outcome is still weaker economic growth in the second half of 2025 and early 2026. So this is something that, as I mentioned earlier, is sort of just beginning. We're at the very beginning stages of this, and this is going to continue to be the trend throughout the rest of the year and into next year. And I believe I'll be covering this for many years to come, just because of how this is all connected and associated with artificial intelligence technology. Given the read on the revised labor market, recession risks are elevated and higher tariffs make that risk even higher. So again, this is not only solely, the jobs report, it's not solely tied to AI like I mentioned earlier. There's also other reasons for it, like they're mentioning here, the tariffs. But it's easy to see how the very, very weak job report and higher tariffs could cause consumers to cut back on their spending and businesses to cut back on their investment, which would push the economy into recession. Friday's payrolls report brings payroll growth closer in line with big data indicators of job gains and the broader growth data set, both of which have slowed significantly in recent months. Taken together, the economic data confirm our view that the U.S. economy is growing at below. In this article, the Trump administration officials have been calling on the Fed to cut its benchmark fund levels that feed into multiple other consumer interest rates. However, there are further signs of economic weakness that could change that. So we've talked about the job market. Now there's housing data, which has been poor lately, reflecting a declining level of buyers, along with rising prices and stubbornly high mortgage rates. Jim Paulson, a veteran economist and strategist, stated, quote, "What are we doing with a national average 30-year mortgage rate still close to 7% and an economy growing at 1%? He says there is nothing, quote, healthy or solid about these economic numbers. They are way below the 2% stall speed and shout out for help." And other economists echoed that sentiment. Josh Bivens, chief economist at the Economic Policy Institute, which is a left-leaning think tank, wrote this after the Friday report, quote, "To me, today's jobs report is what entering a recession looks like." And finally, Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics, posted on X on Sunday that, quote, "The economy is on the precipice of a recession. That's the clear takeaway from last week's economic data dump." So this is the news regarding jobs, housing, and again, we're going to cover on this channel how AI acting and undermining and undergirding all of these different changes that we're seeing in the market. So please do like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think about this jobs report, and do you agree that the economy is in recession or heading there, and a lot of employers with these job numbers are either firing or not hiring because they are using AI technology to do the work of humans and to do that labor. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.